I have never been so terrified and scared of a monkey in my life. I went and saw Primate last night with my friend Lexi at our local Regal Cinema. And I got to be honest, going into this movie, I had very low expectations because I just saw it as another run of the mill horror film. You know, we get a lot of these in like January and February, these run of the mill horror films that end up being absolute trash. So the last one that I remember, it was set in a pool, and oh my god, what was this? What was it called? Oh, that's gonna bug me. But it was set in a pool, and it was absolutely like I went into that one thinking, oh, this looks really good, and it was absolutely terrible. This one, on the other hand, I went in expecting it to be bad, and it was so horrifying, so terrifying, so horrifically gruesome, and so incredible. Like everything about it was great. It had its downsides, and we'll get to that in this review. But man, the high highs that it had, I mean, me and my friend were literally in our seats and we were like, oh, like it was one of those types of films. Now let me go ahead and tell you guys the baseline. This is non-spoiler talk right here about what this film's about. It's about a friend going back home, joining her sisters. There's a few other friends that they bring along with them. They all live in this super nice, but really out in the middle of nowhere house in Hawaii. And the family, their father, played by the ever so incredible Troy Kotsur. If you guys don't remember, he is the deaf actor who was in Coda, which won an Academy Award, obviously. He is just an absolute incredible actor and does well in every role that he gets to play. He plays the father of this family. He's going away for a business trip. Now, this family also has a pet monkey where at the very beginning of the movie, first scene, you see him rip a dude's face off, and then it jumps back and it's like days before, whatever. And his name is Ben, and he is part of the family, and he's so sweet. And you can see how close him and our main character, I'm awful with names, but the main character, Lucy, played by Johnny Sakuya. I probably butchered your last name. I'm so sorry. You can tell that him and Lucy are super close and have this super close relationship. The dad ends up going away after discovering that I believe it wasn't a meerkat. Oh my God, I almost said meerkat. Mongoose, after discovering that a mongoose got into Ben's enclosure, bit him. He sent the mongoose in for some testing and said, no one let Ben out of the cage until I get back home, just to be safe. So these kids are, having a party. They are out at a couple of them are starting to form some connections. They're swimming in the pool, all of that fun stuff. And I don't want to spoil how it happens, but Ben ends up getting out of his enclosure and causing some serious issues because he has rabies. So that is the baseline of what the movie is about. Now I'm going to get into kind of my spoiler review. So if you haven't seen the movie, go ahead and go watch it, and then you can come back and listen to this later on. Every scene that Ben was in was spine tingling. They did such a great job at making Ben a horrifying creature. Lucy said it best at one point. She was like, when her little sister asks, what's happened to Ben, she looks over, he's drooling out of the mouth, and she goes, that's not Ben anymore. And Ben had this tablet that he could use to communicate. And there was one scene in particular where he's just saying, die, die, die. And I was like, I don't know if there's anything in life that could be more horrifying than that. There are some absolute horrifying deaths in this one as well. There's one where kind of our hero guy, Nick, played by Benjamin Chang, swims over. Ben is right on the edge of a giant cliff, and he's like, hey, we could just, push him off right here. So he goes over trying to push him off the cliff. Ben ends up grabbing his arm, throwing him overboard, and unfortunately for Nick, he lands square on his head, and it's just one of the most gruesome injuries we saw. But the worst one was Drew's death. Drew, played by Charlie Mann. He gets his jaw ripped off of his face, and he's still alive. Like, you see his eyes moving while he's sitting there with nothing but the upper part of his jaw. And I felt like I wanted to throw up. While all this is going down, obviously, Troy Kotzer's character, Adam the dad, he's trying to check in. No one's answering the calls. So he heads back to save the day. I mean, there are some movies that you just have to watch and admire if you're having fun with it. And this was a movie that I don't want to say I was having fun. I'm not like a person who loves seeing people get tortured, but man, as an overall experience, I was invested. I was cheering for our main characters. I was terrified every time I saw Ben. I could feel them walk. I felt like I was right there with them while they were walking around, walking on eggshells. Absolutely terrified. Now there are, like I said, there are downsides. This horror movie, you know, a lot of times the reason I don't tend to like horror movies is the story always tends to be a little lackluster. Stuff gets left out. And at first, you know, there wasn't any mention of the mother, and me and my friend just assumed that she had died, obviously, because she was nowhere to be found. She was the reason Ben was there. She brought Ben back home. So Ben being a part of the family was probably, you know, a connection to their mother who they had lost. And I thought that would have been an interesting road to go down, but we never hear anything about it again. There's a battle for Nick's heart going between Hannah, which is like the annoying friend who gets invited on the trip. She's played by Jess Alexandra. And Lucy, there's like this weird love triangle happening. That gets thrown out the window pretty fast when Nick gets killed. The last two characters alive were Lucy, her younger sister Erin, and Hannah. And I thought it would have been much more interesting if Nick stuck around, because even Adam, the dad of the family, even he was pushing for Lucy to finally go after Nick. You know, this is your chance. Nick announced that he no longer is in a relationship. So he was like, this is your chance to go after this guy. And I think it would have added to the story to see Nick stick around and actually have Nick and Lucy be the last two standing. They get together at the end. I think it would have been a nice like storybook ending. Not saying every movie has to have a storybook ending, but I think that would have been really cool to see. Overall, I mean, I definitely recommend going to see this movie. On Letterboxd, I gave it 4 out of 5. It beat the Bone Temple, which I still have to film a review for. And the funny thing is, Bone Temple, everyone's loving that movie. That's averaging like 4 out of 5 stars. I gave it a 2.5. And then this movie's averaging a 2.7, and I gave it a 4. I guess I'm just reverse what everyone else likes so far in 2026, but this does currently, I've only seen 2 movies released this year, become my favorite movie of the year so far. I would love to see it again. It was good. It was a good horror movie. And it's a movie that I didn't look too deep into, and because of that, I enjoyed it. And I can't emphasize how absolutely terrifying Ben was. It was so scary. So that does my full review for Primate, the new horror film that just came out, I think last weekend. But yeah, I think it just came out like last weekend. If you enjoyed this review, go ahead, like the video. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of Primate. Maybe you're on the side that it was a mediocre film, or maybe you're on my side that it's not getting the love that it deserves. And feel free to subscribe to my channel for even more television and cinema news.